Alright then, so let's have a look at some further details that are maybe a bit hidden from some absolute plain sight from the gameplay that was shown during the Xbox showcase a few weeks ago that we didn't even notice during our first look through. There are some really things that are maybe visible for a frame or not, like for example some wall and slingers and stuff, but there are a lot more interesting things that you can be looking into, and that is, for example, you can also glean a few things about population limit, how it's gonna be working, and how it's gonna be also otherwise for example, favor gathering. That favor gathering is very, very weird, because it really looks like there are two different versions of the game, two builds, and therefore it's hard to say which one is gonna be relevant, or if one of them is not actually having another meaning. So we're gonna be looking through both, because there are gonna be some really interesting things. I'm gonna be kind of going probably through how the video was kind of going, and therefore bit by bit. So at this point in this first part, it's gonna be interesting to learn, for example, the pop limit for the Sphinx. Not sure how many people actually thought of that, and we're looking at that. So this is right now gonna be the advance. Okay, it's gonna be just like a second, I think, before you're gonna be moving over back into that. So keep a lookout on the pop limit to the top. Just gonna be probably there for increasing the size of it. So you're gonna be therefore seeing that our good old Sphinx is going to be therefore getting a specific amount of pop, which is a bit different than we have currently. So you can see 12 pop limit, and once the Sphinx is gonna be out, we are gonna be immediately at 15. So therefore Sphinx is gonna be having 3 pop limit, which is lower because normal one here in the game is having 4 pop limit currently. So that's already, that was kind of speculated, but I'm not sure if it was proven anywhere too much, that the pop limits seem to be lower and will be probably lowered for the myth unit. So this is right now a clear indication of that. Can say now population cost, I can be showing it as well to you therefore on the game itself for population cost. So this is gonna be 3. That's gonna be the first way how they're gonna be working with the pops in the game. And you can also right now see this is gonna be right now okay, 17 right now favor for the Sphinx. That's gonna be also a bit interesting in there to note. 17 here. I'm not entirely certain if it is actually on no patch is also 18 or 17. Thinking it might be 18, because I remember seeing it somewhere. It might be right now have a look onto. Even though it's not necessarily that much of a great resource, because for example this is definitely different, the favor gathering rates, than what Ipert, Logi and Hagrid have measured. And I'm gonna be going off that because that's most probably gonna be a bit more relevant. So if you're gonna be going into Bust and the Sphinx here, then we're gonna be getting right about now cost of 18 favor. So apparently the unpatched game is gonna be even 18. It's gonna be something interesting to also note what kind of balance they're gonna be going off. Probably just like the base game, therefore not any kind of balance patches. But considering what's gonna be following after, I guess it's gonna making sense. They're not gonna be relying on it too much. So these are gonna be therefore slightly changed to what we are having on Woobly possibly. But soon I'm thinking that this is also in this part of the video. They're gonna be clicking in the new Sphinxes. I think it's also here somewhere. Right now it's going to a temple. And you can say now we have seen the favor cost for that upgrade, but we haven't seen the Sphinx. And right now you can therefore tell to the top if you're gonna be again looking into the favor. That was 102, and gonna be right about now getting further Sphinxes. So let's gonna go bit by bit, because first there was the upgrade, or we can just gonna go really one by one. So upgrade was 5, that was into 1002, and the next Sphinx. It's actually a bit interesting how it's not updating in real time. This is something I've also noticed elsewhere. For example, with at one point there's gonna be a moment where the UI is having one icon loaded in later. It's a bit weird how actually the UI acts. Don't remember it from the other games that it will be having lag or whatnot. Entirely certain what to actually necessarily make of that. But it is a bit curious. But nonetheless, you can see right now 1002, and you're gonna be currently getting 2 less. Therefore, this is what, 36? Yes, that's gonna be 36 difference. and that's gonna be 2 Sphinxes, so therefore 18 favor for a Sphinx. So we're gonna be keeping the same cost of the favor. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I forgot about that. That's gonna be maybe happening here. So let me maybe right now redo it. Thank you for letting me know. So currently 1002 after that upgrade. And we're gonna be right now going with, it's gonna be counting only 2 Sphinxes at once instead of just 1. So you can see the UI is having some real weird refresh rate, different than what's going on in the game. And I can say now therefore 36 less, so 1 Sphinx is gonna be costing 18 favor. So there was a bit of a theory that maybe myth units are gonna be cheaper, but it doesn't seem like it's gonna be the case. Based on this, seems like they're gonna be having the same cost. So at that point, well, that's of course right now the question, if maybe the favor gathering rate is gonna be higher. You're gonna be getting to that as well, as that's of course not gonna be entirely relevant in this piece. Interesting also is, right now the extra icons I wasn't entirely all that looking at before, here to the south, in the temple. I'm not entirely certain what they are supposed to be meaning, because right now the villages, that's also something that you have, for example, with mining camp or with the resources here. So I wonder if this is something that is basically like prevalent pertinent to Greeks, and if it's supposed to be something else. I'm really not thinking this is actually anything doing to it. I'm thinking that the theory that this is Xbox UI is completely false, to be honest. Because have you seen how the game looks on Xbox, the other ones? Or do you think that they are having like a specific UI for playing keyboard and mouse on Xbox? I don't know, it feels weird, especially if you're gonna be having the Q and W. I'm not really convinced that this is any kind of Xbox as it's running around. That it's like an Xbox exclusive. I have seen it mentioned. It could be like that it's recorded there, but I'm thinking that it doesn't mean that it's Xbox UI. I'm thinking it's a real one. I don't understand why they will be showing Xbox UI in the first place. That doesn't make any sense. They just want to be, of course, showing that through top side, the extra villages, which, based on some of the wordings that they were using in there, it looks like it might be only for consoles, but I'm not entirely certain if this or other is gonna be completely different for the PC. You're saying Colin Hawk is randomized Xbox name. Could be. Oh, you're actually thinking that if they don't show it on Xbox, you can't put it on a YouTube channel on Xbox. Well, it still doesn't have to be meaning this is only Xbox exclusive. I'll be kind of liking to see if there is some kind of video of somebody using, for example, mouse and keyboard on like AoE 4 on Xbox or 2DE, if it's possible. It probably is possible. Because so far I have seen only basically people with normal controllers. And of course the UI is completely different. It's not going to be anything like this. So it's still interesting, but nonetheless, it's a bit interesting artifact here, the villages and the priest on top of it, because it almost looks like that's gonna be for probably empowerment, or even though empowerment is having different picture. So I have no idea what to make of those 2 icons here on the temple. So yeah, I'm not entirely all that certain at this point about it. Because just like anybody's guess, because you're gonna be seeing it somewhere later, the villages, if he's gonna be clicking on the mine somewhere. Now, yeah, you can see right now the villages here. That's basically right now getting villages to work, and that was the same on the temple. So I wonder if it's something to do with Greek temples, and it just like shows up even on other civilization temples for whatever reason. Could easily be. Or might be controller mode on the PC. Huh, that'd be interesting. Yeah, I'm thinking that I wouldn't be discounting this UI as being Xbox only. I'm actually thinking it's gonna be more likely to be on the PC, but who knows in the end. Still the hit points are a bit bothering me. And with the priests in there, that's even actually a bit more confusing. What the hell is up with that? That one is confusing me even more. Why is the same icon as this one? So it's not any for empowerment. No, it's, I mean, like, it's making sense that it's gonna be calling the priest there, But for what reason? Because empowerment is having different icon as when you're gonna be having a priest clicked in. So that's why it's a bit confusing, but it's probably gonna be that. Just gonna call in the closest priest to empower. It's probably gonna be something along those lines. But you maybe wanting to be having a pharaoh in there, because this would be oddly specific for to be having different icon only for him. But well, might be just gonna use C placeholder, of course, so might not be entirely finished for all of them. Could be. Same as I'm also very much kind of curious what means really the infinity next to the favor. If maybe you are just gonna be having limited favor if you don't have temple, and you need to be having temple to be having infinite storage. I don't know, it's a weird mechanism, but maybe that's how they had to implement it somehow. No idea. So that's of course just like a bit of a question, and I'm thinking that was maybe it here for the first part. Let me maybe right now check if we're gonna be having something more in this specific thingy. Yeah, I think this might be it, and we're just gonna be therefore looking into that further part, or further parts, especially with the campaign. There are gonna be plenty more things to look into. Where was it? Okay, this is still here, nothing too important. Yeah, that villager cap at 100 we have already seen. That was kinda clear. No, okay, so right now we're gonna be starting with the campaign. Easy is here, my player. So this is gonna be also important to notice overall quite a few things here. And especially making a comparison, for example, with the original game. So you're already gonna be able to tell that it's quite a bit redesigned. So I found, I don't have it on my YouTube, but I have found a mission from some guy 10 years ago. So Bone Ripper, thank you very much for your info. And it's gonna be interesting because notice the 214 right now pop limit that we have as the max. And we are gonna be here having 3 fortified, or not fortified. That's important that it's not fortified. Citadel centers. So 3 citadel centers for the Isis. Also kind of funny, of course, having all the different god powers, but whatever. It's also changed, evidently, it looks like. But 214 pop limit. With what it means, you're gonna be having currently 15 for normal TC, 10 for Citadel, 25, and 3 for Isis as a TC bonus. So that's 28 times 3. You are having 60, 84. And that means you're gonna be having 130 for the rest for the houses. Which I wasn't entirely counting it here, but that's the same amount of houses that you can actually see in right now the Retold. Now it's showing the correct one, because I'm right now showcasing 214 pop limit here, and kind of how it works that it's a Citadel center, because you don't have the Citadel selected in the Retold. So I'm just kind of making a point here. So it's only Citadel, not fortified Citadel, based on the pop limit. And if you're gonna be therefore going back into Retold, we are having 155 here. So we are gonna be having only one Citadel here. You don't have multiple anymore. Instead of that, you are getting some Migdols here, as it's redesigned. So that means 15 plus 10 for the Citadel, so 25, meaning 130. So we are having still the same amount of houses. Yep, the amount of monuments is gonna be also relevant. So 13 houses. There are places where you can actually detect all of them. I'm having timestamps for that, so let me see if I can find it here. 3552 is gonna be the point, just to kind of prove that it is that way. Okay, so here is a overall point of view a bit. So you're having 4 houses here to the top. Then you have 1 there, 2 there. So that's gonna be 4, 5, 6, 7. Then we're gonna be moving to the right. And then I'm having 2 more to the top. So that's 9. And then there are actually 4 extra that are above the TC. Seems like that is somewhat similar to how it is in the original game. That is gonna be right now. I think it is also visible actually in this point, if you're gonna be moving a bit forward. There's gonna be a scroll up. There to the top. I think it's gonna be scrolling up even a bit more. Seen a bit more evidently. Okay, here. There are gonna be further 4 houses here 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have in 13 houses. You can also kind of confirm with the minimap. So I have in 13 houses for 130 pop limit. So we are keeping houses still at 10 pop. So at this point, it basically means that higher population limit is gonna be done through extra houses. If you're gonna be comparing it then with the later point of view. Because TCs and even the god power are gonna be staying the same. If you then move forward here into the 210 pop limit, you're having 2 town centers. So that's gonna be no citadel, by the way, cast. So if it's gonna be even empowered, or the empowered, if it's gonna be fortified, for example, then you are having what? 20, 40, 170, so you're gonna be having 17 houses there. Even the 13, of course, is higher because it's campaign, normal than usual, but it's evident that the population is made only by extra houses. So at that point, well, anybody's guess what it's gonna be meaning. My guess is very simple, because it's gonna be very much meaning that town centers are not gonna be as important. You're gonna be probably fine with second TC to kind of speed up your economy, but you legitimately do not need town centers for pop limit. Because if you're gonna be able to build up to practically 200 population limit with houses, you just don't need 15 extra population limit or 20 with 45 DC from a town center. Just like legitimately don't. It's not gonna be mattering as much. You're gonna be able to overcome that through extra towers, for example, or other things like that. So is it gonna be staggered, as Flem is right now suggesting maybe, that you're gonna be getting new houses per ages? This is already in the mythical age, so anybody's guess if it's gonna be staggered or not. But yeah, I'm thinking it's the wrong way to go about it, like a very wrong way, considering that town centers are like the backbone of the whole gameplay, and now you're just gonna probably will be able to turtle a lot more. Yeah, I know, that's gonna be also a part here, but I'm gonna try to maybe put a bit of a structure into it. So this is right now how population limit is most probably gonna be working. Bit of a question is, how much of a change there's going to be, because it looks to me that this and, for example, the campaign are different builds. Right? Because, for example, here, kind of like that's the point where you're gonna be having the TC selected. And you're gonna be having, therefore, that looking a bit different. You can see right now you have an enemy Odin in the picture. And that's a kind of like weird line to the bottom. Almost seems like that this one is not entirely finished, maybe, I have to say. But if you're gonna be having that previously, then you're gonna be getting the god like below, right? So it feels like that this might be a newer build, more perfect build, the campaign, than what is there. So question is how much of a like a comparison can you be making there? But it seems like that the pop limit is holding true here as well. So it feels like that's how the pop is gonna be working. It's a very questionable way to do it, but that's what you're gonna be dealing with. No, so I guess right now the next funny part is gonna be with the Favour gathering, for example. So you can see right now we are having all the monuments here. That's a bit of a funny stuff going on with the campaign, because in the mission you're gonna be getting some extra monuments going on and added to you. So it's a bit trickier. But we are having two monuments to pharaohs, right about now belonging to blue. He's gonna be getting 4 for the soldiers and 2 for the villages. Those are both his. There is an angle for this one where you can see that it's also blue. Probably having it somewhere, maybe gonna be noticing it, but don't want to be necessarily wasting time with that. You can recheck it as well. So this is something that you can, of course, easily measure. And I'm gonna be having some longer time, because if you're gonna be measuring for too few seconds, it's just like a lot of margin of error in there. But in a moment, there's gonna be an interesting point for like a half a minute or whatnot. You can get some info, how it works. By the way, there's gonna be also, you can see it now, Petsuchos is getting upgrade all the way to the left side. So Petsuchos Ra practically. So the question is if maybe Petsobek is not instead of Petsuchos Ra. It would be like Petsuchos straight and then Petsobek. I don't know. Because otherwise you wouldn't be having any kind of change. So that probably will be some kind of change. Because Petsuchos Ra, let's face it, is not entirely inspired name, is it? Overall. And I'm thinking we can be also getting right now the population limit for the Petsuchos somewhere around here. And currently we are gonna be at 10 monuments already. And that's where I'm thinking you are getting extra villager and extra priest. I'm gonna be finding timestamp for that. Okay, there are already 10. 3628 approximately. You're gonna be seeing some further monuments. Are we gonna be able to at least confirm that they have been taken therefore? Or where did I see it? Yeah, you can see here. All the way here to the right. That's one of those that used to be yellow, is already blue. And that goes also for this of the soldiers. So that's gonna be right now important to have it together. So that's gonna be right now making even more. There are 2 more here, because I think already some of the bottom ones have been added. You can kind of check it on the minimap practically, which ones have been taken and which ones haven't. Thinking that here, yeah, that's gonna be the 2 extra pharaohs for this part of the map. It's gonna be somewhere also visible. The bottom ones, yeah, here. To the right. It's kind of like a bit harder to see the one to the right, but they are both already right now blue, as a bit of a blue as well. And these are monuments to pharaohs. So you're gonna be having practically 4 monuments to pharaohs here. You can see right now 5 to soldiers, and you're gonna be having 3 to villages. So by that, you can very easily already get the notions. As I mentioned, there is something that you can find on the Wikipedia, but that's not entirely too precise. This is something, but there has been a measurement done by Hagrid, Ippert and Logi some years back that is gonna be much more truer to reality. Okay, let me write about now at another window capture to show you. Here, these are right about now more reliable numbers than that. So you're gonna be using those, and you can therefore make some very easy calculation and computation on that. So if you're gonna be therefore amounting to 4 pharaohs, yeah, that's where I'm gonna be, of course, adding the notepad. So you're gonna be having 4 pharaohs. Then we're gonna be having 5 soldiers. And with that 3 villagers. So you can easily right now make from that. Is right now the number. I'm just gonna be counting it again just to make sure that I haven't made some kind of mistake here. So 6.48 node, 5.52 is gonna be times 4, so that's 22.8 plus 4.5 times 5, that's 22.5, and yeah, we have it in check, we have in comma instead of dot, so who cares? And 6 times 3 is of course 18. So that's gonna be approximately per minute, meaning 62.58. That's gonna be the same, that hasn't been changed in the balance patch. Per minute, you should be getting Favour in general for those monuments that we have in the game. No, and we can be of course doing the counting therefore very easily. This is campaign. This is gonna be also addressed later. It seems like there's gonna be only one still, but we're gonna be getting to that. This is only because it's campaign, so you are getting insane amounts so that you can be spamming the myth units for this specific unit as a specific part. So 3628, it's gonna go back to that. We are starting with the 12. So you can see right now 213 at the start, therefore. No, not image, no pet. So you're going from 2013 into how much and in how long, because it's gonna be there for 3628. Shame we don't have timer in the game, but yeah, well, can't be having everything, I guess. And it's gonna be rolling for like almost half a minute, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna be a really good kind of opportunity to test it. And it's not even making anything new in the between, or the in-between, if I'm not mistaken. And it's gonna be easy to see the difference because of that. Okay, so here at 36.57 approximately, that's gonna say the 36.57 that it's going to be. And we are going to 249. So therefore that means that in, do we still see it on the stream at least? Yeah, I'm just kind of not entirely certain how far it reaches. Okay, so we're gonna be having how many seconds? We are having, what, 29 seconds. So 60 for a minute. You're gonna be having this and times, what is it, 36, 74 and a half favor approximately per minute. It's looking like on Retold that it's gonna be approximately. So you can see there's some kind of increase on that, and that will be, if you're gonna be having 74 and a half and 62.58, it'll be like a 20% increase approximately. So like about like 19% increase. That's gonna be, of course, because we don't have exact timings and whatnot. So it can be, I guess, maybe anywhere since and from 15 to 20% based on this. That is a bit interesting. I've also done some other measurements, not entirely certain if they are all that necessary. I'm thinking this is fairly representative for what we have seen here. So probably don't need to be bothering that, but there are some different moments where you can also have some extras and check it out. Thinking there is, for example, at like 36.14, I'm thinking that's also 35.56, but there are like 5 seconders and whatnot. These are useless, but there was like almost a minute somewhere near the start. Yes, that's gonna be probably good to show. 32.38. Just to be having maybe like a different point of view. Because we are wanting to be maybe a bit more precise. Yeah, you can see right now, you can see the fifth one that's gonna be converted to you from the starting condition. So we can be starting about here. Thinking this one is gonna be possible to also check. You're gonna be having 10 monuments starting at approximately 32.38. Okay, I'm getting a bit too far here on the notepad, so let's maybe pull it up a bit. And we are gonna be at 55, and it's gonna be with 10 monuments. And that's these 10 monuments, that's the previous one without the 2 for the pharaohs. That's gonna be 2 there. Yeah, I think that's the only change, if I'm not mistaken, for that. Getting the villages and the soldiers. I'm right now checking my timings if I'm having them correctly. Yes, that's 2 pharaohs, 5 soldiers, and 3 villages. And I was looking at that, so you can be there for, from what we have here, we're gonna be removing half of that. So 62, 58 minus 1.04, 11.04. So 51, 54 we should be getting approximately. It's gonna be fairly long lifespan. I'm thinking there was also some further detail here. Oh, that also kind of occurred to me. We didn't kind of talked about it because I wasn't entirely certain what this kind of like almost auto-queue symbol is meaning. I wonder if this is meaning automatic casting or automatic usage, because I don't entirely see him using it anywhere specifically in any of the videos, like right-clicking or clicking into it and going back. It almost feels to me this is gonna be meaning practically auto-queue on the special ability of the units, that it's gonna be there for in. I mean, like, it's only logical, but at the same time, you have to wonder why did they bother therefore going for the on-demand, because it seems completely useless at that point. But yeah, seems like that I would be assuming this means basically automatic usage. Okay, right about now. Also, this is also interesting from the pop limit point of view. You can see right now you have an 87 pop limit. And you are suddenly gonna be getting some 6 Petsuchi, right? Oh, you're actually getting Scarab and 4 Petsuchi. So what was it? 87. You're getting 20 extra pop limit for 6 myth units. So that's gonna be, of course, something a bit more expensive. I'm thinking that Petsuchi, I'm gonna be showing some later, if I'm not mistaken, are gonna be 3 pop limit, and the Scarabs are gonna be 4, which means it's both also 1 lower, if I'm not mistaken. The Scarab is 5. You're just gonna seen it in the games. Okay, let us show that. So yes, Scarab is 5 here. Looks like it's gonna be 4 in the game. And, well, maybe could be also removing the scoreboard. And you can see Petsuchos is at 4. So it seems like they maybe have en masse reduced the pop limits of the myth units by 1. Almost looks like it could be the case. Now let's, I guess, continue here. Because it's gonna be, well, 4 times 3, 12, and 8 for the Scarabs. Makes sense. Okay, we can right now move forward. I don't think there's anything interesting. What is the time I'm specifically looking for? 33, 36 approximately. So, 33, 36. And we get in like 113. That's almost like a minute. This is gonna be also a very good sample. 113, no, and of course easy math again. You are going to be having, what is it, 58 seconds. So 60 divided by 58 and times, you are having a difference here of, what is it, some 58. And that's gonna be right now 60 per minute. On right about now the new one. So 60 per minute, and if you're gonna be there for dividing 60, 51.54, you're gonna be getting about 16% increase. Like 16% increase. So as you can see, it's gonna be like small numbers, so therefore it's okay, can't see it, I'm gonna be moving it up. You need to be kind of considering that we don't have exact measurements and it's small numbers, so again, margin of error is there, but it looks like that based on this, the increase is gonna be like 15 to 20% on the favor gathering rate. No, but that's only one part. There's also the other fun part that is gonna be going on. And that is in that other version of the game. I'm really still kind of holding that this is a different version actually of the game. And you're gonna be able to practically start from the beginning here. So as you can see, first part, 5 monuments. We are in the mythical age, so it looks like you're gonna be sticking to only 1 monument per age. Most probably. So that's maybe one question also answered, how it works. So that's gonna be about 4424. I think I'm gonna be probably right now opening a new notepad for that. This is getting a bit bigger. Okay. No, and we are gonna be at therefore 963 favor. Okay. And we are gonna be at 4424. Actually, we have it in game time here. It's gonna be better to count. So 2727. And we can right now go through the whole length of it, I guess. It's gonna be, of course, the second son of Osiris cast. It's gonna be 350 favor that we, of course, need to be remembering through all of that. And that's not gonna be any kind of further expenditure here. It's not entirely as much of a long time spent, but I guess it's gonna be at least a bit helpful. So it's gonna be ending about now. So about like 27.55. And we're gonna be having favor. It's gonna be 627 with 350 deduced. So we can right now have quite an easy part. No, the double son of Osiris is sick. Well, considering the power, I'm not entirely certain everybody is gonna be necessarily agreeing. But nonetheless, that's gonna be there for about 28 seconds. So 60 divided by 28 and times, that's gonna be 350. That means 977. So you're getting 14 favor. You're getting 14 favor. So in total, it looks like 30 favor per minute, which is not as much. You are having all 5 monuments and you're getting 30 favor per minute. How do you want to be achieving 400 favor for Son of Osiris, even the 350? Do you realize that's 10 minutes with full monuments and not spending on any single myth unit? I see that as a bit of a problem to the whole concept. I don't see that entirely too realistic. So yeah, but nonetheless, that's right now gonna be there for 30 per minute. And if you're gonna be having all 5 of them for every single version, then you are going to be getting, of course, from the window capture here. You can right now count it easily into, you should be getting how much? 6 plus 4.5 plus 4.98, sorry, plus 5.52 plus 6.48. And that's gonna be 27.48. Is currently in the game. Now, and of course that means that if you're gonna be right now therefore daring to count it, the difference is very small, so margin of error is gonna be big. You are having increase of barely 9%. So it's kinda looking a bit weirder. This could be, of course, a big error, because the problem is we are talking very small numbers and every second or half a second is gonna be mattering in there. So the increase is actually really low for what you are supposed to be actually having. So first, I'm thinking this is different version of the game than what we see in the campaign. So here we are getting 9% increase approximately. So let's say maybe 10% or anything along those lines. Whereas in the previous one, in the campaign, it looks like it's like 15 to 20% rather. And we're doing the counting there. So like 16, or you can say it now the 20%, the 19 here. Just gonna make sure it's gonna be evident, which would be maybe a bit more interesting, but it still means you can see I'm getting, even if it's gonna be the best scenario, you're getting like 75 favor per minute here from all of that, and that's specific scenario. But on the normal gameplay, it looks like you might be getting like really just an incredibly low amount here. Incredibly low amount overall. Okay, why is it right about now? Not wanted to pick it up. Nice. So still, you are about like 30 per minute. That's absolutely ridiculous if you are supposed to be paying 350. That's legitimately more than 10 minutes of gameplay, of not spending on any single myth unit. So that's what I was mentioning. This is actually very weird. Why it is? Because otherwise, if you want to be making multi-god powers and cheaper myth units and higher pop limit, meaning you are supposed to be and are expected to be making more myth units, those directly clash. And frankly, even just the god powers themselves are gonna be impossible to afford in a normal game. You're just never gonna be getting the second son of Osiris. Just like never. You're rather gonna be getting Titan for 50 favor. That means further 5 minutes down the drain for the second son of Osiris. Or really just some kind of myth unit to solve an immediate problem for you. Or you mustn't forget you also have mythical upgrades, or for example upgrades that cost favor on top of it. So this seems to be incredibly undertuned for what maybe it's supposed to be, or maybe it could be something like that. Basically, that's like their design. That it's on purpose so that the games are not broken. Because if you're gonna be theorizing about the fact that you will be increasing the favor gathering rate by like double, for example, even that would be a bit interesting, of course, even to afford any kind of extra god powers. The early ones maybe, but the later ones seem to be very sketch. Then even that could be having consequences, because you will be probably wanting to spend that favor early in the game anyway on myth units. And maybe faster upgrades or whatever, I don't know. But it just kind of doesn't entirely compute too well design-wise and how the game proceeds. And it unfortunately kind of feels to me that plenty of people could be disappointed because of that. Because how is it presented? That you're gonna be playing a game and you're gonna be casting meteors every single while and all the time. And it's gonna be super, it's gonna be epic, it's gonna be Marvel's, Avengers and whatnot level. No, it's not gonna be that evidently. That's what I was saying from the very start. That if you want to be having the game balanced, this cannot happen. And it seems like that maybe they agree with that, but at that point, they are practically false advertising and leading people to believe something that's not gonna be true. Because realistically, with these numbers, you're never gonna get any kind of god powers galore. It's just never gonna happen, because the favor is never gonna be there. Or this way, it's gonna be there, possibly with Greeks and with Norse. And they are going to be completely busted because of that. So that's maybe an interesting implication as well from it. Right? So this is just like a huge problem. I don't know. I'm repeating myself. I'm saying this from the start. This is a real problem for the balance and design of the game, what they have decided to do. It's not easy to solve. It's one huge jar of worms right next to the other. And the civilizations are so different that to actually manage something like that, you have to congratulate Ensemble Studios in the first place that Age of Mythology is such a good game. And now you have just some random people going in and deciding, hey, something that Ensemble Studios thought of but didn't do, let's gonna do it. Maybe they were idiots, maybe they didn't know what they were doing, maybe we do. No, I don't know. So far, I'm a bit skeptical about that. But again, as I said, I'm fairly certain these are some early builds and there are gonna be changes, but even just like looking at the sheer numbers here and what is shown, I'm kinda thinking they are aiming for like a more attempt at balance and therefore less wackiness, and that is definitely not what people are expecting. So I'm thinking there's gonna be maybe a bit of a surprise of expectations. But yeah, you can just kinda clearly see it here. If you take the time to make the measurements, you're just gonna realize it doesn't compute too well with what is being announced and advertised for the game. I'm not entirely sure what to think of it, because on one hand I can appreciate that maybe they cannot understand that it's not entirely too good to be having like that many god powers all the time, because they seem to be keeping the original levels of powers as well. That's another big decision they apparently have made. That's a bit weird. So yeah. But one thing that I also, by the way, didn't mention before properly with the ISIS and with the campaign and with the population limit in there, you maybe noticed that there was just like a nice number there with 1 TC for ISIS here. You don't have any kind of like ending on 8, 3, 6, 9, whatever like that. You don't have that. So what it means, ISIS doesn't have population bonus anymore. I think that's gonna be quite a bit evident, but frankly with the increased pop limit, that probably was anybody's like idea that either it's gonna happen or it's gonna be super boosted. But considering the high pop limit, it just like makes sense to probably replace it. And maybe what could be actually right now the solution to it, how it was removed, that they basically gave an extra. They basically gave extra favor gathering. Because the numbers seem to be higher here in the campaign with ISIS as opposed to Dura. Again, it might be margin of error, but it maybe also could be meaning that ISIS is having bonus of favor gathering. And frankly, it would be kind of making sense also from another point of view. Because I was also thinking about it, and if you want to be having basically like your main shtick, that you're gonna be casting plenty of god powers, it's not entirely cool to be having a god that's gonna be blocking them, right? That's not entirely nice. So maybe they removed even that ability, and therefore they just kind of like went about it in a different way, that you're gonna be getting more god powers maybe with her, or some kind of idea like that. So that's a whole speculation, but it seems like the pop limit bonus is gone, based on the numbers that we have seen. So that's gonna be another change. I mean, like, evidently Set is having new god ability, Kronos is having different god ability, so they are gonna be really changing a lot of things. So I'm kind of thinking that we might be not even recognizing what the gods are, with their specific bonuses and everything. So yeah. No, the Wonder Age, I kind of wonder how much the Wonder Age is gonna be reducing it now. Of course, with the numbers, it's kind of making sense that it will be kind of like maybe cutting it into maybe even like a 10th, just to be making a complete mayhem, but I'm kind of thinking it will be a bit tricky, because certain civilizations will be having easier time getting there, and especially in team games it will be completely busted, because at that point you will be almost always having a civilization that goes fast Wonder and just like destroys everybody with god powers. That will be probably like easy meta. So I'm thinking that also we will be having some interesting implications. So yeah, I just like, based on these measurements, I'm thinking they are conflicting what they want to do. They want to be, on one hand, forcing you to more myth units, and at the same time, just like advertising that you're gonna be getting more god powers, but you just kind of won't. You will have to choose. And I'm thinking that the choice is actually kind of evident that it's gonna be the myth units, frankly. Very specifically god powers, or if you're gonna be going for a mem strategy, that maybe could be also where you're gonna be getting some extra god powers. But yeah. So that was a bit of an interesting part. And there are also some further details in the game that maybe didn't entirely look into previously. Let me right now see what I have right now here in order, so that we are gonna be having it a bit structured. So that was that. We also maybe can be comparing some slingers, I guess. And yeah, that's gonna be also, okay, so that's gonna be everything here practically in this first part. Do I have the timings for it precisely? It should be somewhere. Okay, the Heretical Sphinx 33:48. There's gonna be some Heretical Sphinx, and yeah, I was kind of thinking maybe of showing, yeah, there was just like a quick look onto the upgraded Heretical Sphinx, what kind of numbers she's gonna be including with all the upgrades. That's something that we can compare with the original game. Okay, let me put off right now the scoreboard finally. So that we are not gonna be blocked too much. So we have an order cryo and Hierarchy in. So you can say now 50 hit points, and that's gonna be there for meaning for the Sphinx 350 hit points should be there for right now the basis. So we're having 420. That was already, I'm thinking, we mentioned before, but it's just a normal one. So you can see 70 more HP. It's gonna be available for the Heretical Sphinx. And hey, Chrono. Then the further upgrades. That's gonna be 20% extra hack damage. And further 20, so it's basically plus 40. And she's having hack 11. That's gonna be like 15, right? 40% extra. So 15 damage. She's having 24 melee damage, and the 15.4 right next to it, thinking as the crash damage, right? Yes, that's the crash damage. So normal attack is definitely increased quite a bit. For the further upgrades that we have here on the unit, that will be crash damage plus 50, so basically double crash damage. So that's gonna be right about now supposed to be 10. We are having at this point 15.4, so you can say now it's gonna be increased damage on the crash as well fairly significantly. I'm not entirely certain that Hierarcho Sphinx is exactly a unit that needs to be getting stronger, frankly. I'm fairly confident that Sphinx is already pretty good for where she is and what she costs as well on top of it. Thinking this is a bit of a dangerous play here on the balance attempts. And that's gonna be there for that, for the damage, 20% movement speed. So we are having what kind of speed here? 6.36. And we are having at this point some kind of a bonus. What is actually in this? Why is there a bonus? Why is it counting already that way? No, but it's nonetheless. It's actually right now with the upgrade for some reason. I'm not entirely certain why, but nonetheless, that's basically like the 6.36 should be the speed. And we are having speed here of 6.4. So that's practically the same. The speed is gonna be the same. 1.3, that is basically attack animation speed. So 1.3 seconds for an animation on the attack. And I can see range is gonna be 1, that's gonna be some different. I think the hoplite are gonna be probably having some high range. 3-time bonus versus buildings. At the end, you can see it now we are having minus 50 heroes. Myth units are plus 200. Okay, do we have that? Oh, yeah, that's bonus versus myth units, not against buildings, that's just the crash. And otherwise, you're gonna be having the melee resistance, you can see it now, 45, you're having 44, Peter 60. Otherwise, the other statistics are the same, practically. So, massively increased damage, like, seriously massively. That's some very high percentage. I'm really not sure if Sphinx needs to be actually that much stronger. She's gonna be definitely damn good at classical raiding, as we have seen, for example, in some of the games today. That's a good point, actually. If it's a DPS or pair kind of like the attack. Because melee attacks in Age of Mythology in the original game are DPS besides ranged units. Ranged units are per projectile. So let's gonna maybe count that. That's a good point, Chrono, thanks. So 24 divided by 1.3 is gonna be about 18.5. And what was it there for here? With all the upgrades. So 11, that was about like 15. Because you are getting from the other upgrades 20, 20, so getting 40. Yeah, about like more than 15 slightly. So it's still increase. If it would be that way, that's actually a good point. Not entirely certain how it works. That is a good point. But yeah, it's still increased. But maybe it's not gonna be entirely as massive as it maybe seems at first. Because of that. If it's gonna be displayed in such a way. I'm not sure if somebody's having experience with 3DE, how it shows there. Unit with long attack animation. No, well, I wonder if there is something like that in the game, or in the video rather. But nonetheless, that was there for Hierarcho Sphinx. Then, just right after, we're gonna be having a strength of a wall. If I'm not mistaken, it's gonna be selected somewhere. There's gonna be some better one. Oh, that's actually a gate later. Okay, I wanted to be having the wall specifically. I haven't selected somewhere here, so hopefully I haven't mistyped what I have prepared yesterday. Oh yeah, there. Okay, so there's the wall, and that's actually another important point, right next to the left, right? The extra units, whatever, buttons, what they are actually supposed to be meaning. It's something that was also not entirely too easy to notice last time. And it very much feels like this is actually just like simplifying micro. That this first one is obviously heroes, because that's the same, if you're gonna be having the banner to the top, that's gonna be like idle heroes or something along those lines, I think it is. So this is like a signal for a hero. So this could be probably meaning that this specific type of unit is gonna be attacking that, because this is also on, for example, TC, then later in that other section. So does this mean this is gonna be, you're gonna be clicking that and the heroes are gonna be focusing that? You click this, it's gonna be anybody nearby. This, siege weapons, this, it's gonna be boats. I mean, like, if that's not only for console, I'm very much against that. Because that's completely removing practically like a micro difficulty from the game to a large degree, especially if you're gonna be relying on the myth units and heroes dynamics. Specifically for those, it's really broken. Because that's one of the most important pieces of the gameplay of Age of Mythology and micro in the game. And the units. So, again, still the question, is this going to be fully PC? Or is this some kind of part of Xbox or whatever? In my opinion, it feels like this is practically like same as it's gonna be on PC. Now, this is meaning basically, there is no icon for the myth units. That is a good point. That is a good point, but it definitely feels like that this is like a selection of type of units that should be attacking that specific target. But it could be also anything else. It is just like a speculation, I don't know, but I don't have any other explanation. If somebody has something else, please let me know. So, yeah. I'm kind of thinking that those ideas having things for single player, not for multiplayer, are just like straight stupid. I don't think that people should be playing different games. That should be just like one good design, because if you do that, then you admitting that you suck at doing games. If you are having different conditions for different types of players. They're just like, you just don't do that. Because it's too confusing for the players then to make the transition, for example. You just like instantly locking them in. And it's just like, again, hallmark of a bad design. Doing things like that. That's why I also don't long-term like any kind of ideas of like team game patches against single player patches. Like having different patches for different versions of the game. I don't like it. I don't think that's actually any kind of good idea. Even, for example, the deathmatch patches are already questionable. But that's at least something completely different. But team game and single player, I don't think it ever should be having different patches, frankly. You just should be trying to work within the bounds of it and just kind of like accept that maybe something is not going to be ideal, but you just don't want to be dividing players that way, in my opinion. It's a bad idea. No, nonetheless, again, anybody's theories what those actually icons are, because they are present also in, for example, on TC. It's definitely only on enemy units, like on enemy buildings, enemy units. So it certainly feels like it's your own prioritization of the units. And I would very much hate if this was part of a game, normally. And not for consoles, I guess, probably who cares, they just need any kind of help they can get. It's just never gonna be better than a PC player anyway. But yeah, I just dearly hope this is not PC. That's definitely a very wrong way of simplifying the game. No, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point, Funny Liquid. It's doing things for you. Like simplification, like, I don't know, for example, multi-queue versus single queue, so therefore splitting units into different military buildings you have selected. That's kind of like okay, because that's really just like a mechanical thing. But this, microing, that's like straight how the game, what is the goal of the game? That is like if you were getting advice on a telephone in playing chess. It's just like completely counterplaying the game you are supposed to be playing here. I think this is a very wrong way to do things. But nonetheless, let's see what it's going to be in the end. So right now, Gargarensis, the wall, therefore. So it's going to be a stone wall. Gargarensis was set, right? Yeah, he's set. No, we're just going to make it proper. By the way, were there actually some changes to walls in balance patch as far as the hit points? I think there were, right? So this might be a bit not entirely 100% straight. It might be different on the original game actually than on the balance patch that I'm gonna be comparing with now. So you can say it now, stone wall, this is gonna be wooden wall, and we are getting upgrades into stone wall, which is plus 600 wall hit points. I think we changed that somehow. Armor we changed, okay. HP might be the same except for the second upgrade. Now, because at this point you can say now plus 600 walls hit points, that would be therefore meaning that we should be having like 1200 HP on a wall, practically. And if you have a look, that's gonna be here, stone wall at 645. Again, I'm gonna be looking into... No, I'm gonna be loading just the original game, therefore. Just to make sure, without the patch. Make the comparison with that. Yeah, I know there were some changes through walls, but I'm not entirely certain how extensive they were. Okay, so right now we are in the original game. So we're gonna be having 600 hit points, and Stonewall is gonna be adding plus 600 as well. So, wow, if that's gonna be really relevant, yeah, the further walls, of course, it's gonna be even more, 600 per each level. So we are supposed to be having practically 1200 hit points on a wall, and now here it's showing only 645. So it will be a fairly serious nerf to walling. Yeah, that's Ancestors, the third one. That's also interesting compared with the original campaign, because the original campaign was having completely different powers, right? I was already showcasing it, but I can potentially show it again. You can see you were having this on ISIS Hear My Plea. You were having Pestilence, and you were also having Vision. So quite a bit of a redesign, besides, of course, not also having the 3 TCs and the monumental pop limit, but that's because the myth units are having lower pop in general, so I guess it's somewhat making sense. But yeah, seems like that walls are massively nerfed. Frankly, I'm not entirely all that happy about that, because walls are in a best spot from all the Age of games in Age of Mythology, especially early in the game. The late games maybe, they maybe don't have to be as incredibly strong, but I'm thinking that especially the first ones, or like the very first one, the wood wall, is quite a bit alright. And this is practically as if this was only in wood wall. So yeah, I just gonna go in for the experience. I don't think that walls are in too much of a bad spot to be warranting just like complete 50% HP nerf. That might be a bit of an overreaction from the other games, because in the other games in Age of Empires 2, it's just like an unending discussion if they should be weaker still. It's like never-ending conversation there. I'm thinking it might be a bit spilling over a bit unnecessarily, but nonetheless, you're having therefore 55. What is it? Melee, 90 pierce. So you can see hack armor is also lowered by 10%. Pierce armor is massively lowered. Unless there's some kind of... Not that there cannot be anything else that would be just like better in. You can say it now, wall hack vulnerability. That means 36 and 10% from that. So you are getting about 3.6. So you're gonna be having 70% hack armor on Stonewall. So 70% hack armor and 95 for pierce. So you're getting 20% less and 30%. Actually more. Wait, what? I was just kind of looking at different numbers. But nonetheless, the melee is... yeah, quite a bit different. That's about like 15% decrease, it seems like, for the melee. Which is, I guess, alright. But 90% on the pierce, that's gonna be alright. Okay, that one I was looking a bit elsewhere, so sorry for the panic on the pierce. That's gonna be only 5% lower, so that doesn't matter. Crash damage 10, which is also 5% lower. Actually higher, sorry. It is higher, because on the original game you have, right now, 5% only. So slight differences besides the hack. So that means that normal units are gonna be able to pull it down a lot quicker. The hit points, though, are very interesting nerf. 600 less than what we are used to. That's going to be making for quite a bit of a different experience. And what that means is... no, not entirely that massively much, because frankly Stonewall is not as common upgrade. Only when somebody is going to be there and like Matrius going a wall for half the map or Nullus. Then at that point it's kind of relevant. I don't think it's going to be doing necessarily as much, because even today they are not entirely that hard to break through based on the mechanism that you can kind of hit one piece and it's gonna be breaking the whole kind of like section. So from that point of view, it probably isn't going to be entirely busted, but it might be meaning that maybe in the late game, therefore it's gonna be a lot weaker, which wouldn't be too much of a terrible thing. So it might not be that bad overall. By the way, also very interesting here is based also or connected to population. Okay, the message on the left side. You have reached population limit at 155. You are having 13 houses here, and it's still telling you to build more houses to keep training units. Further confirmation that the higher pop limit is only through the houses. I wonder if there's gonna be some kind of limit, like 20 maybe, or if it's gonna be infinite. I'll be thinking infinite probably, I guess not. But it might be just going into the 200 probably. At least for the houses, like 20 houses plus the TCs. Maybe, based on also the further scenario, what it could be. Now this kind of holds for stone walls, but again, I don't think that many people are getting stone walls that quickly. Though I'm not disputing that sometimes it happens. So that was this piece with the walls, some comparison. And what else do we have? Potentially heavywore elephant. There's a further unit that we also thinking didn't check properly. 34, 23 approximately somewhere. Yeah. Heavywore elephant. Yeah, so this is something that you can potentially do. And Pirlo, well, that pop limit is gonna be based on houses. TCs are gonna be the same apparently. Weirdly, Citadel, it seems like as well. That's making the god power a lot weaker. And otherwise, that favor is not entirely that much increased. So it doesn't seem like it's gonna be any kind of god powers galore. Simply because, really, the increase is like very low. Maybe between 10 to 20% only for the Egyptians that we see. So what it could result into is Egyptian sucking and Flaming Weapon Norse being just like absolute nightmare. Or Ragnarok Norse as well. And potentially, of course, Greeks that can, especially Zeus, that are gonna be able to get favor at whim. So yeah, definitely quite serious balance questions on that. Okay, so heavywore elephant. So what kind of information can we get from that possibly? I'm gonna be at this point therefore staying on the original game. Some kind of comparison with that. At this point it's getting a bit more complicated on having all the comparisons with even our balance patch. So 608 hit points on the heavywore elephant. Can say it now 450, and heavy is getting you what, 15% extra hit points. Okay, that needs calculator. Not gonna be doing that off my head. That means 517.5. So about like 100 more hit points, it looks like. Unless there's some kind of further upgrade, which obviously we can't tell here. So about like 100 more hit points on the elephant. Again, I don't think that elephants are a unit that needs too much of a help. It's just like, I don't think so too much. I'm not entirely too confident on that one, but nonetheless, further upgrades onto the elite or the heavy elephant. We are getting extra hack damage, 10%. So for the original game, you are gonna be therefore having hack damage. Where do we have that? 14 plus. No, 10%, so basically like 1.4 or whatever, so about like 15 damage. About like 15 damage we should be having. I'm still kind of confused why we get in the numbers here extra, but nonetheless. Maybe it's gonna be some bonuses at this point, ignoring in my mind. So 15 damage, and we're having 30 damage, and if you're gonna be right about now going for the theory on the DPS, then 30, of course, divided by 1.4 is gonna be still 21.4. So it's still like 6 higher. So massively increased damage for the elephant. Again, I don't think that elephants are weak. I'm thinking this is quite a bit of a miss as far as the balance goes. I don't entirely understand the reasoning for it. But maybe we will somewhere later, who knows. 200 versus buildings, so therefore times 3, making sense here. 2.9 speed, that's gonna be the same. Heck armor 32, that's gonna be the same-ish. Pierce 46 and crash 99. Otherwise the statistics are the same. Increased attack, increased hit points by a lot. By like 20% increased hit points, and the damage is by like third practically. That's not a small actually design decision to be making such changes to units. To be putting it succinctly. Okay, 34, 37. That's gonna be right about now a building that you can compare. Alright, now the slinger as well. So, barracks. You can say now it's also on the buildings, right about now the extra icons. So they're having 1200 hit points in the original game. Here it's gonna be 1380. The kind of question is what kind of hit points upgrades maybe he has. Since right now the base is at 1200, 30 and 95 on the defense. That's gonna be kind of similar. You can say right now 90 on the pierce. They seem to have increased the crash armor for whatever reason. Why would you be increasing the crash armor on the things? Because you are having more myth units with crash damage? Seems to be a bit of a weird decision. But whatever. But seems like a bit higher hit points. Maybe there's gonna be some upgrade. Could he be having masons? Would that be actually enough? Masons are 15%. Would that be actually making sense? Yeah, that's making sense. That's gonna be masons. Masons are 1380 with 15% extra HP, so it seems like that's gonna be the same. Therefore, on the buildings, or at least the one building that we have here. So this one being easy. Then, a heavy slinger for Isis. Okay, that's gonna be a bit annoying to right now count because it's gonna be 2 upgrades. But on the hit points. So we're gonna be, for example, having, so what is it, 65 hit points, 10%, and heavy it's gonna be another 10, so it's gonna be 20% extra. I'm hoping there's nothing on the advance because some units have that, but probably not gonna be those. So 20% extra HP, so 65, and fifth of that is 13, right? So it's gonna be like 78. 1378, so it should be like 78 hit points therefore. We're having 85 apparently here for the Isis, so that's by 10% higher or something along those lines. Then 1547 on the defense. Okay. Medium slingers, okay, it's gonna be only damage, and here as well. So therefore the armors should be the same-ish, 15 and 20, and some extra additions. I wonder where it's actually coming from here, those extra numbers there. Just kind of makes absolutely no sense to me. Should I be kind of like selecting even just like the major god here to remove that? Is that some kind of artifact here? No. It's a bit weird right now, the numbers there. I'm not certain where it's actually kind of like having the logic from. But whatever. Can't say it now. Heck armor, therefore, about like 15 and 20 are gonna be the bases. And we're gonna be having 15 and 47 on the pierce. What kind of upgrade could it be having? I mean, like there's something on the defense, maybe some kind of relic, possibly. But yeah, that pierce resistance is kind of insane on the slingers. That seems to be a lot higher than maybe you'd be expecting. Because we are having only really 20. And we are in the heroic age with the Isis. He's having Nephthys. And also Bast. There's nothing, of course, that could be increasing that. So yeah, that seems to be somewhat of a increase. Or maybe there are gonna be also the shields. That's something that could have been in. It's a bit shame that we don't see it anywhere here. I mean, like, we can be imagining maybe 15, or is it 10 and 10? Yes, 10 and 10, so 20%. So you're gonna be having the slinger. What is the pierce? That would be 80%, and you're gonna be removing 20% from that. So you're gonna be removing 5th from 80, which is therefore gonna be 18. So you're gonna be getting about like 38 pierce resistance, if I'm counting it right. Which is still not getting there all that much. And we asked in the heroic age, so we can't be getting iron. So I'm thinking that's gonna be a bit interesting. It seems to be higher there for pierce for him. Yeah, probably something along those lines if you're gonna be assuming armory upgrades. On the attack, he's having 4.5. We are having, of course, right now pierce damage of 3. And if you're gonna be getting the further ones, they are increasing damage. And it's gonna be there for 10 and 10, so plus 20%. So you're gonna be having, that's a very small number. 5th of that is 0.6, so 3.6 damage. And again, we can be maybe assuming some kind of armory upgrades. If you're gonna be also expecting both of them. So it's also 10% each, right? Yeah, so you'll be getting some 20% each, so basically like 40% on the base. That's what, 1.2? So it's gonna be 4.2 there for damage. With normal means, 4.2. And this is right now 4.5, so I guess that's gonna be some kind of increase as well. Then we do have right about now 1 projectile, 1 attack speed, and we are having 19 range. Range is gonna be, you can see right now 16 for the slinger. And the other ones, they only increase LOS, so this is not right now range. So apparently we're gonna be having higher range. Unless again, there's gonna be some kind of upgrade we are not aware of. So that's by 3 higher range. And the second, they're having bonus against archers 3.5 times. So you can see right now this is a bit lower. Because we are having otherwise... You can see it now, it would be 4 times if it were the original game. Interesting is that we have the specific bonus against throwing axemen, and you can see axemen hypaspists. We don't have anything listed like that here. So does that mean no extra bonus against the hypaspists or whatnot? And throwing axemen are gonna be the same as the normal archers, and they're gonna be thrown into 1. And 6-sided, yeah, we're just gonna like looking at some further things we didn't see before and they analyzed in the first video. And first go at it, some very interesting pieces. So seems like some kind of also buff, most probably for the slingers. But again, just like you can see, they are basically changing absolutely everything. And it kind of feels like they are just kind of changing it, but just like for the changes simply. Doesn't seem to be making that much of a sense so far, so hopefully gonna be getting some kind of further details on that. Okay, 34.45, what is the next one? Yeah, I'm thinking that was... Yeah, the switch. Oh, that's gonna be interesting right now with Aman-Ra. Look at what's going to happen. Right now she's having a melee attack. And then when she's gonna be switching into the special one, it's gonna be switching over the whole information. So you can't be having both information at once, it looks like, unless maybe you're gonna be clicking the information here, I guess. Yeah, you can straight about now. Melee attack. And now she's doing the special one, and that's gonna be the jump attack information, which is definitely not entirely too wieldy. I'm thinking that maybe that's something that's gonna be modded in, possibly, if it's gonna be possible. Funnel liquid, it was plus 3 range. 16 into 19. So that was high one. So this is apparently how it's gonna be working in the UI. No, not too friendly, I guess. Again. Ipert is gonna be having some job ahead of him, it seems like. Or if somebody else is gonna be wanting to take that. So. Yeah. That's how it's apparently going to be here. Jump attack for 120 damage, by the way. Then we already talked about the upgrade into Petsuchos. That I'm not entirely certain if Petsobek is not gonna be really a replacement of Petsuchos Ra, like an uninspired name, or if it's gonna be like even the base Petsuchos, because there was the upgrade and the name Petsobek is basically something that we see only after. So I'm not sure about it. As you can see right about now, this is going to be there for. Okay. Yeah, that's gonna be a bit interesting. Also gonna tie into what we have seen already before, that the UI seems to be working at the different FPS than the game itself, which is very strange. And or maybe it's gonna be also right now letting us know something about the performance not being great, who knows. Okay. There's gonna be some choice of the elephant. Because I don't think I've noticed that in other games. It's kind of like a piece by piece load-in, but could be just some kind of feature of the engine. It's not gonna be anything too like bad and problematic or whatever, but it's just like interesting little things. So when I already found it, then why not actually share? Is it 34:52? Oh, actually, that's a minute later. Okay, sorry. I was too locked in this time. Yeah, here. Like, you're gonna be selecting the elephants. And I can say now the loading bonus here to the bottom in the buildings. The picture is gonna be loading only in the next frames. For whatever reason. So, but that's already what we have seen before. There seems to be some lag with the UI a bit. So hopefully it's not gonna be anything annoying, but again, just like milliseconds, so it doesn't seem too bad, but of course, who knows what's gonna happen when you're gonna be having more things going on. That's, well, the general kind of question that we have, and this is gonna be tying us to like the basis and basic war elephant, as you have seen, the heavy one. It's gonna can be right now practically confirming what the statistics are going to be here. So as you can see, 530 hit points. Base one is having 450 in the original game. Speed 2.9, that's gonna be the same. Resistance is 3346. That seems to be also somewhat okay. But the elephant gets free medium in-game. Huh? Oh, well, that's... But this is already, I'm looking at... This is practically like the medium already, right? Oh, that's gonna be what it is. That's actually what are the percentages extra. The automatic upgrades. Uh-huh. Yeah, that's gonna be the automatic medium. That you have like a base unit. Mm-hmm. So that's gonna be the pluses here. So this is right now the real numbers, of course. 3246, so you can apply it to what you were talking before. But nonetheless, 24 attack against 15, so... Yeah, and again, if you're gonna be there for doing the counting, possibly. If really it's gonna be DPS here. Or rather actually per attack, and therefore you need to be lowering it on DPS, then 24 times 4, it's gonna be like 17. So therefore you'll be having possible like 2 extra attack above the normal unit. It's probably how it's going to be. You will be most probably right, Chrono. Because it's making a lot more sense, instead of just like increasing the damage by third, to increase it by something like 2 or whatnot. Is it? Right about now the hit point supposed to be increased, because it's a bit weird that it shows to the right. But it doesn't show here, for example, on the HP therefore, right? It's something that is a bit confusing me, that it wouldn't be adding the hit points. But well, even if you're gonna be counting there for 495, if that were the case, then that's still kind of like further ones extra. Very questionable choice, to be honest, buffing elephants. Don't think they need it. Yeah, somebody's gonna be interested in more depth. You can definitely check the proto files for the absolute correct information. Okay, in a few seconds there's gonna be also right now Migdol. You can also compare. So also interesting, this is actually very interesting how even the selection boxes are working here. Because you can see right now he's gonna be selecting that. Then it's first selecting the Migdol. But then it's gonna be leaving the Migdol out and it's gonna be selecting only the priest for some reason. Maybe it's just gonna be having some simple selection actually on. Because I have seen some kind of oddities with that even in other places. Maybe it's gonna be some option, because that's a bit strange. That is basically not going to be selecting both of the things if you're gonna be already having them before, but whatever. Also, thank you for the follow, Funny Liquid, an hour ago. Okay, so Isis Migdol. I think we have already established that there was a, at least for Gargarensis, for the opponent, there was Masons already in game. So I'm gonna be maybe assuming that the Isis is gonna be having something similar. Therefore, so let's assume that this is gonna be having Masons as well, so plus 15% HP. Because otherwise, if you're gonna be looking at, you can say right now 2600 as the basis, plus 15%, that seems to be somewhat in the vicinity of that, right? Yep, 2990. Max range 20, that's gonna be the same. It's having actually minimal range of 4. Do you, Chrono, know what is the minimal range currently? Is it like 1, or I don't know, maybe it's gonna be having some slightly different measurements. 4 seems to be kinda high for like the units right next to it. Because if you're gonna be considering the 4, that would be maybe like even further than the priest, practically the range. So yeah, it's maybe not gonna be anything like specific, but nonetheless, it's just like a bit interesting maybe to be seen in actual number. Then damage is gonna be 13.2. That's probably gonna be also some, as you mentioned. Yeah, we're probably gonna be having the armory upgrades as well on the Heroic Age. So you can say now damage is there for 12, and if you're gonna be getting 20% extra, then it's gonna be 13.2. That seems to be there for the same. 1.5 against cavalry. That's gonna be there for crenellations. But it's a bit interesting because crenellations do not add bonus to Migdols otherwise. That's only track rating. So you can see this is gonna be maybe something new. No, that's definitely new therefore. Because Migdols don't have native bonus against horses. So this is gonna be apparently addition. Maybe from crenellations. Anybody's guess. But apparently that's a change. What is the first picture? Oh, that's boats. 6 times against boats. Yeah, that's gonna be the same. Okay. Because in the original game, you are also having 500% against ships. So that will be staying the same. 1 damage per second, 3 projectiles. That's, I think, in the same right as well. 20 capacity. Yeah, we don't entirely see it here. Do we even have like LOS? We don't have even line of sight anywhere actually right now. It dawned on me. Like it's important statistics too much, but just interesting that it's gonna be missing. Yeah, they're gonna be doing it. It's probably also how it was in Age of Empires 3. I just don't remember. I've played it 20 years ago, so it's gonna be the same as there. So there doesn't seem to be anything too much change. Otherwise, 30 and 90 on the resistances. Yeah, that's gonna be the same. And 10. No, yeah, it seems like they en masse changed the crash armor to be 5% higher. I think that's a weird choice, but it's probably gonna be prompted by their expectation of higher amount of myth units. And they have reduced pierce resistance by 5, which I'm thinking is a bit weird. It's gonna be important to note what's gonna happen with burning pitch. Because that could be having some bad consequences with like charioteers against towers and whatever. And in general, archers being a bit too effective against buildings. It's only 5%, but even that could actually make a difference. No, the percentages are not that evident in the original game for the sole reason that especially upgrades do not work additively. That they basically remove from the remainder. That's very confusing and definitely not something that you're gonna be expecting at first. And that's why if you're gonna be seeing plus that 10% pierce resistance, for example, and you see it increased by, I don't know, 3-4%, for example, on the unit, you can be confused, like, why is it actually so useless? But if you keep the mechanisms and you're just gonna show it a bit better like this, then it's, I guess, maybe gonna be more useful. But that depends if right now the percentage is actually gonna be any different. Because maybe they so far gonna be still the same. We have to be seeing the wording. I'll be probably liking to see the wording be a bit different. And just gonna keep in the system. It's kinda, yeah, confusing what they have chosen to do with it. No, I mean, like, Age of Empires 2 is very straightforward because it deals in absolutes. That's actually, like, super simple. If you're having units with 7 damage, and you are having armor of 4, now you simply get 3 damage per hit. It's just like as simple as that. Whereas here you have to be making computations, like with a calculator practically. Because we are dealing with decimals, of course, in this engine. And the simple method is kind of like nice to be immediately notice what's going on, because right now the percentages sometimes might be a bit confusing for you. To kind of like realize at first what's going on with the ups. Even in-game, and therefore it can be influencing how you play. And okay, 3623, it's gonna be there for Stone Gate. Let's see how that it's gonna be changing. You can see it now again, all the hit points, the weird icons that we have here. No, and gates, that's practically, I mean, like, unfortunately, Tech 3, we don't entirely see the gates. Okay, so at this point, I'm not entirely certain how it is with the gates and how many hit points they're actually adding in the original game. Is it something that you can find on the wiki, for example, at least? So maybe, like, once it can be useful. No, but it's important, I know me, from the point of view that upgrades are good to know, because it's gonna be usually done in a game, especially in Age of Empires, that if you get one more upgrade, then usually your units against you need to be doing like one more hit. So that can be very important in certain specific scenarios, how to know if you can actually afford to fight the battle or not. It's not entirely as, of course, developed in Age of Empires or the Age of Mythology, exactly because it's more complicated to get to know. Whereas in Age of Empires 2, it's just like bread and butter of high-level gameplay to exactly know these differences and being able to tell what kind of fights you can take and what not. Okay, so 500 hit points. But is it like an extra addition? It's more like a legit don't know how it works. On the change. It's probably not going to be entirely letting us have anything important here. 50 and 96, I guess. So therefore it's like 55, 90 and 10. Somewhat of a similar reasoning, I guess, as we have seen otherwise. This time the hack armor, if it's going to be kind of true here what we have in the gates on the Wikipedia, which is very, very kind of sketchy information here, then maybe the hack is gonna be slightly better, possibly. 1075 hit points is definitely like 400 hit points more than the normal wall. Okay.
Thank you.
Let's go. 500 HP. Okay, so it's gonna be like a basis 500. Huh. So they're gonna be... Wait, what? Why did they therefore do strong wall, weak gate and strong wall? Well, whatever, opposite way. You know what I mean, strong gate and weak wall. That makes limited sense to me. So stone wall is gonna be weak, but you're gonna be having stronger gate. Shouldn't it be the opposite? Aren't gates supposed to be the weak points of walls? Just a question right here, but okay. But nonetheless, that seems to be a fairly actually big difference, considering what was going on there with the normal wall. Okay, that's a bit of an interesting piece of knowledge, therefore. That's gonna be maybe more in line with the normal stone gate. Like if you're gonna be having stone wall upgrade on it. No. So that's an interesting discovery, I guess. Maybe the gates and walls are gonna be taken differently, or maybe it's gonna be like down to even just like some kind of bug in the game that the upgrade simply wasn't applying to the wall and it's applying to the gate. We mustn't forget that maybe even that could be a piece of the story here. But interesting little thingy. And of course at this point, let's therefore move forward. It's gonna be also interesting at this point in a few seconds. One of the obelisks probably going into Fog of War. Yeah, this one to the right. Gonna be kind of seeing it in a moment. It's gonna be kind of like going into the Fog of War and therefore going dark. It's a bit of interesting detail. You don't entirely see the Fog of War in there, but that's already a piece of the map that you don't apparently see, as you don't have the vision for it. At least that's what I'm assuming is going on here. Or is there some kind of reason for it? Ah. Like there would have to be some kind of unit nearby. Is there though? Probably doesn't seem to be looking at the minimap any kind of unit nearby. But obviously there was a vision. Oh, that's gonna be there for some kind of god power probably because of it. Huh. So that right now brings me to the idea. I was kind of mentioning that already during the stream. If they actually accounted for the fact that rain is also increasing wood gathering rate. I'm not entirely certain if you can like properly see it somewhere. But you probably can. If you're gonna be going back here, then you are going to be waiting for the hand in probably somewhere if you can. Yeah, the Petsuchos we have already looked at last time, so I'm not gonna be repeating that, but that damage is weirdly small. But maybe that could be therefore explained since they have a bit of a longer animation. I think they have longer animation. Okay, already having the rain here, unfortunately. So, can we get something without rain? That's gonna be impossible to see the wood because you don't see how many villages are handing their like resources in. So that's gonna be pretty useless. And Dragon, thank you very much for the bit. Yeah, I don't think that the wood is gonna be entirely too possible to see what's happening with that. If it's also gonna be having increased capacity. We can at least tell what is gonna be the carrying capacity for the Vills. It's gonna be still 15, so that will stay the same. What is that trickle of food? I mean, like, look at the food at this point. To the top. It's here and they're getting like 2 food. Or 1 here. Oh, that's gonna be flood over the Nile, right? Yeah, that's gonna be flood over the Nile. Because we are Isis. Okay. Makes sense. It's gonna be practically like Heroic Age with all the upgrades, I guess. Something along those lines. Yeah, we did. For example, here there's Petsobek here. He's having the 2, so he could be having like 16 on the damage. Yeah, at this point it's gonna be thinking again, Chrono. That's gonna be how it is. You need to be right now pair the damage. But this is gonna be also meaning this is gonna be a bit different than, I guess, how it works. As far as the display. Because in the original game in Age of Mythology, ranged units are per projectile actually. Here it seems like it's gonna be all DPS. Petsobek is already upgraded Petsuchos, but that's not entirely mattering because Petsuchosra is only at in range, if I'm not mistaken. Let me right now get back to some good info. Yeah, just +6 range. No, so let's gonna maybe have a look again. 480 HP. You're gonna be therefore having that the same. We are going to be having speed 3.6. No difference there. 40, 45 on the defense is also the same. Crash damage of 12, which is at this point going to be only 1.6. That's very strange kind of like decrease. 1.6 for the Petsuchos, or Petsobek at this point. And even if you're gonna be going for like the double because of the 2 seconds for the animation, then you're getting at only 3.2. So practically removing crash damage from Petsuchos. 1 bonus against Myth units, or that's also by the way removed therefore. Yeah. We don't have any kind of bonus actually damage versus Myth units, interestingly. This one was very strange even last time when we were comparing the statistics. 8 damage, that could be like 16. We obviously do have right now 55. This one is just like completely out of whack, which I don't understand. That is completely weird what we see here as statistics. Range is at 26, which is gonna be therefore, he was upgraded, we have seen it before. So that's +6 is Petsuchosra. So that's correct, that's the same. But those attack instats are just like out of this world. No bonus versus Myth units, no malus versus heroes. Yeah. Okay, the damage is per attack, not per second. Accuracy 100%. And is Petsuchos having such a long wind-up time? I mean, like, so that we could be getting into the same number into DPS. We will be having 55 divided by 8. You'll be having to have 7 seconds of an attack time. Does he have that? That seems way, way, way too long. Even though, I mean, like, Petsuchos is a bit funny. Trying to remember if I have some kind of recorded game with Petsuchos. Unfortunately not now, right? Kimo didn't play any. No, yeah, because he's ranged. So, again, it's gonna be lower, but nonetheless, it'll be... So that you could be having the same number. It'll be a lot higher. Do you actually know what is right about now his approximate thingy? But nonetheless, if you're gonna be right now having it per the attack, we don't have to be speculating, because it's 55 per attack, and if we would be doubling what we have in the game, 2 seconds, it's still only 16 and 3.2, so it just like doesn't matter. That would be still third, even less than that, of what we have in the original game. It just like absolutely seems wrong. Oh, it's cause the type of his attack, okay. No, this one really doesn't make sense to me, how it's right about now portrayed. Okay, Petsuchos, Son of Osiris, Man of War, and yeah, of course, the ones that I use in the special like lightning. Even archers. I thought that archers are basically ranged units. All of the ranged units are per projectile. And a DPS. Oh, well, okay, so thank you. Even the archers. So only those special units therefore. So that's where I'm having it from. Okay. So thanks for that. No, nonetheless, really, the Petsuchos is just like a bit of an enigma here. That seems to be either wrong or I don't know. But I guess you're gonna be therefore moving forward to some further things. And also there was thinking somewhere we could be counting the Petsuchos on the 3. We already did it before. That Scarab is gonna be 4, Petsuchos 3. So basically they en masse reduce the pop limit of Myth units by 1, it seems to me. It seems to be making like the most sense. We unfortunately can't entirely see in the video, basically like the Petsuchos landing a hit and therefore able to maybe extrapolate from that if there's something weird going on in the display or what. We don't have the opportunity for it, unfortunately, so can't help with that. No, and we're gonna be moving to one of the also furthermore interesting pieces that has been discovered by Flame in right now this piece. So, pay close attention here, downwards, what's going to happen. So, there's a villager that's gonna be right now moving out. And what she's gonna be right now doing next? Going to be building a house. Because that can be only house for the Norse. I mean, like, no other building is that shape for the Norse. So, that is fairly big change. Again, one that I'm very much against. Very, very much against. I guess it's gonna be connected to the fact... At this point, the question is it gonna be only houses? Or is it gonna be everything? I'm super hoping it's not gonna be for everything. And it's gonna be only limited to houses, because that's the only justification I can kind of understand. As that would be because of the high amount of houses and the population limit depending on them. But even that is a very stupid justification, because that's kind of like the Norse Achilles heel and what they have as a kind of like piece of their design. In exchange for the fact that they can build forward, they have this kind of like a malus to them, so that it's not as simple for them. Because now you're gonna be able to continue fighting, and it doesn't matter if you lose random houses that you build for scouting, because you're just gonna be building by a villager in the base. Whereas today, you can actually effectively use that to cripple the Norse if you're gonna be playing it right. For example, I don't know, by earthquake or even normally, by attacking their houses. And that's a double whammy, as I always say. It's definitely underused in the community. Players are a lot blind to that super powerful thing to do. Because he needs to be first building the house again, and second, he needs to be recalling a soldier from a fight to do that in the first place. Whereas now you're removing that. And I'm really not... I don't think that's a good design decision. But I'm fairly certain it's gonna be because of the fact that the population limit is going to be increased only by the houses. So they just gonna think that they need to be making it easier on the Norse. I highly disagree with that. I don't think they need to. Norse are gonna be most probably actually the stronger civilization, even generally already, with the changes that we have. So even if it's gonna be only for the houses, I think it's a very wrong direction. Something that has been talked about in the community for a long, long time. But again, it has its space in the civilization design, in my opinion. And it's just like heading into making the civilizations too samey, which is not entirely good direction, in my opinion. Okay, Enemy, I'm gonna be apparently heading back to Petsuchos. I haven't entirely read the chat there, but interesting. Went from 4.2 to 4.8. Oh well, I guess maybe just kind of looked into enough of it. Yeah, this is just like, in my opinion, absolutely wrong kind of like definition. Aiming of the design. Removing specialties of the civilizations, and I don't think it's any kind of like bad weakness. Like it really isn't. I mean, like you see how it's of course commonly done in the game. That if you're gonna be really having a problem, you're just gonna be turning a villager into Ulfsak, no? So right now we're just gonna making it cheaper for the Norse, and for what reason? Not much. I really think it's just like a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that you are increasing houses like twofold or whatnot. So you want to be making it easier on them, but like, again, that's the whole shtick of the Norse. To be able to build forward bases wherever they wish. And they have, of course, a bit of a malus for that, which comes with the houses. You can't be giving just bonuses with such a massive change. So yeah, that's a good catch by Flame, but I'm very much not liking this design direction. Very much not. That's, in my opinion, not heading in the correct place. But that's my opinion. You can be having whatever you wish. If you are Norse, you're probably gonna be loving that change. Not sure if it's gonna be building even and possible to build even anything else with that. Who knows? And by the way, here, when the TC is also getting destroyed, that's, I think, also another point that is a bit interesting to look at. And again, maybe it wasn't appreciated enough. Look at the top side. Look at, for example, the fire giant here to the right. How he's doing like now the special attack. And he's gonna be having kind of like the weird whoosh. And I'm thinking that also somebody else was having the whoosh here. And I think the mountain giant maybe. Thinking that if you're gonna be having special attack from some of the units. Yeah, you can see right now, for example, when he was... probably don't see it here. I recommend watching the original video for better quality. But the mountain giant, when he was right now... heaving his club, then there was kind of like a bit of a like an animation above it. You can see it in a lot more pronounced way on the Titan in the trailer. I viscerally hate that. That's just like mobile game, I don't know, 5.0 at that point. I really don't think we need anything of that. The game is epic enough. So yeah, I'm not entirely liking those. Just like a graphical smog and not doing anything cool. Maybe worsening performance for no reason, because if you're gonna be having plenty of those, then it's gonna be taking a bit of a toll. And just like in general, kind of showing what kind of direction they are wanting to take things. But we already kind of know that from all the other things. But it's a very small thingy, so just the graphical decision they took to do that, I'm not agreeing with. And also right now when the TC is gonna be going down, you can already see the cows pretty much fattened up. They are certainly fatties. And you can also see, I was mentioning last time when I was watching this, that maybe there isn't all that much of an evident, like a flowing of the units around each other, like they're gonna be pushing each other out of the way. But actually here, it's quite a bit clear. Thinking it's right now on the right side, how they're gonna be like moving and pushing each other away. Yeah, you can see how they're basically like moving like a wave to the right, because they can't be fit in. Yeah, for example, that poor Scarab, right? He wants to be going somewhere, but he's pushed into the opposite direction here, right? He wants to be moving in and he's pushed back. This is actually really bad. This is something that has been even a problem in Age of Empires 4 that was in my, if I'm not mistaken, it was somewhat actually patched out already. But that is something that is definitely very abusable in certain situations. And what it means is, for example, either you're gonna be having a hard time blocking units, or on the other hand, you could be having a bit easier time, for example, pushing Son of Osiris away from safety. That could be like an effect number 2. So it might be having pluses and minuses, but in general, I'm kind of not entirely liking that behavior. It's definitely not Age of Mythology behavior, that's the first part. So that's not entirely how we know the game. So that's something that will be having some probably funny situations. And also kind of like depends on how good the pattern is going to be, because that's going to be having direct consequences as well in there. No, well, modern RTS, but are we not playing 20-year-old RTS because the modern RTSs suck ass? Question right there, I know me. So maybe we just gonna think that those original mechanisms are better than the ones normal. So yeah, I'm not liking that at all. It could be kind of like maybe not entirely having high consequences. Again, it's gonna be having pluses, minuses, and something players have to get used to. But again, I remember that being a problem in AoE 4 and being patched out to a certain degree, if not all. But yeah, I remember some kind of memes even around it and some kind of meme games where somebody was like pushing away tons of people and whatnot from somewhere, but yeah, seems like we're gonna be maybe getting to enjoy that as well. No, I mean, like, really, that Scarab is quite a bit damning here. He wants to be going down and he's blocked and he's like pushed completely away, like, poor guy. And now what I'm also not liking is all that smoke. And it's gonna be making it quite a bit of a hell to micro. But at the same time, it's at least only like temporary. So I guess it's gonna be probably manageable. Maybe it's gonna be losing your unit here and there, but hopefully not gonna be anything too bad. But just like the fact that you can't see anything there, even if they're gonna be the units kind of like slightly shining through. Thinking that is a level where it's a bit overdone. Like for example here, everything just disappears. Even actually the outlines. That's probably gonna be a graphical bug though. That smoke is gonna be overlaying that unit. That shouldn't happen. That's something to be fixed. Yeah, for example, this scenario, it's just like don't see anything there for what, 3 seconds. That seems to be a bit extreme for readability of the game. And something that I wasn't entirely able to... Oh, we can just, when I logged onto this, we can also have a look at this one. Somebody also noticed that maybe it was also flame. And by the way, again, you can see those icons here. Bit funny is that on enemy TC, you're gonna be seeing grayed out units of that, I guess, unfinished hiding AI or whatnot. But kind of curious is that on those icons you don't have hotkeys assigned. But it could be only because they are simply like legit not assigned. That maybe it's gonna be showing on the icons only when you have them properly put in. No, that wonder is hard to see. The foundations as well. That's also because it's mostly in the fog of war, I guess, though. Maybe. However, the hit points of the town center, of course, significantly different than the ones that are available further a bit earlier. So you can say now 2160. I don't know if you can assume therefore right about now Mythical Age as well. If he's building Wonder, then I guess. But can we assume that he's having Masons? It's not fortified TC, I guess, based on what is right now written on it. But the hit points are definitely a lot lower. You can see right now 2160. If you're gonna be... Do we get some better number if we divide it? No. No. You're gonna be getting some decimals, so this is not gonna be Masons. Maybe there's something else, I don't know. But 2160, and if you're gonna be comparing with the starting ones somewhere here. Okay, it was even in the previous segment, wasn't it? Okay, there it was. 2400 for the base TC in the Archaic Age here for the Egyptian. So you can say about now there are gonna be some differences. Again, not entirely kind of certain if it's gonna, if I remember correctly, it was all lower. No, you have 2800, right? Currently the base. So it's all lower. That one I agree with. But I'm not entirely certain why Norse TCs should be level of Atlanteans. That one I'm not entirely certain about. Especially since TCs are gonna be, no, at the same time, if the TCs are gonna be less important than maybe kinda who cares. Is that gonna be meaning that TC is gonna be getting also cheaper for the Norse, by the way? That's also something to consider. Lower TC HP I agree with. Yes, absolutely. Because I'm thinking that's the way to balance the classical 2 TCs. I've been saying that for a long time. It's one of the ways to balance it. But overall... By the way, 2 projectiles and third one. Is that some kind of age upgrade that gets that? At this point, don't remember. No, still 2. Okay. I was just kind of thinking there are also 3 there. Just a bit increased damage, but it's gonna be because of armory upgrades, I'm guessing. Armor, as you can see, it's gonna be 45 currently here, as far as the town center for Jomsborg, and the original one, Fodera. Okay, it was actually before the upgrade. Here you can say about now 45% as well as in the original game. Yeah, gonna be there for having that something similar with the TC. You're gonna be having, of course, the basic one, 2100. That's actually a bit weird one at this point, because I'm... Again, why is it showing me Atlantean TC? Evidently. Or is it? Okay, detector is a bit confusing me here. Now that's just showing Atlantean, I guess. You probably have to be choosing, right? In the language file. That's gonna be the reason, because you can't be fitting entirely everything for every eventuality. So this is the Atlantean TC. This is the Atlantean TC. That's not entirely helping too much. You can say right now like armor 44, but the armors I'm thinking are the same. That they are not entirely different. We can be just like starting the game actually. So you're gonna be having 2800, and you can say right now 44. Yeah, that's gonna be the same, the statistics practically. Also gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna be changing the favor bounty for the Norse. And Odin or Frey, well, I can't entirely oblige, because this is only what we were given. We can't be entirely doing anything more. This is literally just from the video. Yeah, they're having basically like the change of 4 to 5 everywhere. I wonder if maybe the original game is having like 44.5 or something, and it's just because of rounding, because it's a random change. Or they just kind of wanted to be having nicer numbers on the basis, I guess. Could be as simple as that also. Capacity is also the same. Range of 20. Otherwise the same things. Just the hit points have been lowered, it looks like. And a lot more for the Norse for some reason. As that was there for Odin. No, and I guess that maybe actually most of the things that I have seen here. So if somebody is gonna be having some further, maybe information we have found, or some kind of details, then feel free to let me know. We can possibly look at that again. So there are still kind of like plenty of questions that are not entirely answered. But hopefully you're gonna be getting them. And also a bit curious is going to be that therefore we are gonna be still having the same like signal of the TC working, we just like the bar, instead of anything else, as it seems like they probably had to be going away from what they are doing in the other games with kind of like the ray of light like here, because of the empowerment. That's gonna be only for that. Only for that. And also there is something here. Okay.
Greek. Enito. And which. And which.
It's not entirely certain if it's because of... It's probably not gonna be because of that. Because of UI. Okay. Just also wanted to be showcasing something. That if you're gonna be having... Right about now the priest, of course, can be building the obelisk. You're gonna be selecting him with other units, for example with villages. Then you can't see the obelisk anymore. With Pharaoh, it's gonna be still in. I'm not sure if this is right now because of Ipert. Maybe somebody can be confirming or not. And by the way, right now, just like the confirmation that the selection is working the same, as I was gonna question with the Migdol. Yep, it's gonna be working the absolute same in there. But I need to be finding right now the timestamp. Because when you're gonna be having selected priests with other units, then it's not entirely going to be showing that anymore. But I guess it could be normal behavior. It just like caught my interest a bit. Until a certain where it is. Maybe I'm not even gonna be able to find it at this point. Somewhere in the campaign, and you'll be selecting more priests. I actually haven't even any kind of priest. It might have been like the start here. Also right now when I'm looking at the elephants there clicked in, we can also maybe compare the cost. As the flood over the Nile slightly messing it up, but 1064, 900, for 5 elephants. So that's gonna be there for, what is it, 180. Let me right now find the Tech 3 again. So 180, that seems to be the same on the food cost. It's gonna be apparently unchanged, and for the gods you should be getting 70. Okay, 1260 into 350. Yeah, the cost seems to be the same for the elephants. So the units, well, some different statistics, but apparently cost is gonna be staying the same. So it's a bit of an interesting overall clash of ideas. It's gonna be like a lot changing the game with the supposed god powers and whatnot, but in the end it seems like it maybe not entirely as much. It kind of starting to feel to me more and more that the way I'm looking at that we're gonna be getting like maybe in the end almost the same game, but being completely falsely advertised. That it's being advertised as like way more than it's actually and how it's going to be played in the end. That's kind of like what I feel from that, also from the favor gathering rates and whatnot. That it's not gonna be as much different, besides obviously just kind of changing god power, or the god power's god abilities. Like Isis is losing the extra population limit that she has. Set is getting something new, Kronos is something different. So it's, some important changes are gonna be there, but the general maybe could be the same-ish. But really, the biggest kind of selling point starting to be seen not entirely true. And I'm thinking that plenty of people could be disappointed because of that, because you're just not gonna be able to get millions of god powers all the time. Maybe just like the classic single players who are just gonna be using cheats for infinite favor and then casting god powers all the time. Maybe, but you can do that practically even now. You're just gonna need a better cheat code that you can be getting codes that will be giving you not random ones, like the Pandora's box I think it is, but specific ones. That's something that maybe could have been added. But yeah, I'm kind of thinking that maybe this is gonna be most of the information that I was actually having here. No, well, again, major questions. I'm thinking that the way they are going about apparently the population limit is very wrong, and it's gonna be having bad consequences for the game. It's something that maybe is gonna have to be adjusted. You know, and it just like looks to me that the extra god powers is just like not gonna come into play. Might just as well not exist. And it feels to me that maybe the on-demand abilities of the myth units are gonna be the same story. They seem to be already using here, most probably even in the game itself, in the showcase, the automatic usage of it. It almost seems like that the biggest changes they are touting are basically not gonna be seen in the game almost at all. It should be not ironic necessarily, but definitely not very genuine as far as what they are trying to sell. And it could be quite a bit of a bad talking point. So they are, I think, treading quite a bit of a thin line in there. But yeah, at least it could be there for meaning that the game might not be entirely too distant from the original, which should be only good. Because of course, as you always say, the original is already a good game. That's why they are even having a chance to make money off it. No, but there are still plenty of questions, like what the icons on the units of the enemy and buildings are meaning. Hopefully that's not going to be any kind of game simplification, to be very wrong, if that will be the case. No, and what's going to be happening next? Therefore, with, for example, the specific changes through gods and their identities, because they seem like they will be quite a bit different than what they are today. It kind of more feels like that the god powers are probably going to be relevant only if you get into the Wonder Age. So practically, again, irrelevant. In most cases, you're just never gonna see it. So I don't know, feels like not entirely that much truthful advertising. They're of course not lying, but they are not entirely being honest about how maybe the end product is going to be, which is tantamount to the same practically. But we'll see how they're gonna be right now coming out the door with that. So far with the information that we can glean from this video, that's how it is. Okay, So I guess that's gonna be there for it for the info. Again, if somebody's having something more, then feel free to let me know. I'm gonna be, of course, keeping my eye open as well for some further information. But this looks like that's gonna be for the further hidden, or maybe not so hidden, but kind of like you have to be taking a bit of time to look at them details of the game. So I guess thank you therefore for watching, and see you later. If you are on YouTube and here, well, on Twitch, I guess you're gonna be probably ending as well, because it got, as usual, quite a bit longer, about 2.5 hours. But hopefully we have gotten somewhat closer to what we are gonna be getting in the end with Age of Mythology Retold, somewhere hopefully soon. So obviously the Red Bull didn't entirely give us too much of a good clue about some kind of good progress, because so far it seems like that really also the small patches, delayed patches for the other games, they are under massive crunch on Retold. They absolutely are. They definitely are not in any kind of good shape for the development, it seems like. And the fact that apparently there's not gonna be a kind of beta, it seems, based on canceling the Red Bull qualification and making it just invitational. I'm kinda guessing that seems to be one of the reasons why maybe that could have happened. Or maybe we're gonna be surprised somewhere. Definitely people will be getting to play it on Gamescom. There's gonna be that leaked mission, probably a bit more polished, that you're gonna be able to enjoy. Maybe they're gonna be letting you play even maybe here. The East is here, my player. They're gonna be using that as a specific kind of like, I don't know, advertisement, but it seems like they probably would be wanting to rather showcase all the gods. So that's something that will be a bit more likely to happen than this specificity with only Egyptians. Okay then, so I guess that's it. No, and as I mentioned, that's gonna be also it for today. We got some interesting games therefore. It's already 2 AM and I want to be also watching some football, of course, from record. And well, for tomorrow we're gonna be doing some Age of Empires 2. There are some semifinals of First Master of the Huns at 17 GMT between Kapoch and Streydog, sorry. And then 2 hours after 19 GMT, there's gonna be Met Random Cup 2, also semifinals. It's gonna be Floripa and Dogao, and they're gonna be fighting against Freaking Chris and Freaking Andy. So quite some high-level games for tomorrow. We're of course gonna be doing Age of Mythology further every Wednesday or somewhere in between, as for example today we were having some unexpected show match hosted by Killuminati between Kimo and Grassingroom from Justice Strike, so there were some really cool games. So if you're interested, feel free to head into the broadcast here, or maybe also into Kimo's stream, as he was also doing his POV, so you can enjoy it there. No, and then we did like one community game, but at least one, I guess. We're gonna be getting plenty more, and of course further sessions. Otherwise, if you're interested in some further information that we already have shared before, I'm having it on YouTube. I'm gonna be putting this video up there maybe today, tomorrow, somewhere close, I guess. And thank you therefore everybody for stopping by. No, and of course, feel free to join us on Wooble until Retold is gonna be out, because otherwise and after, yeah, well, probably just the diehards are gonna be staying here, unfortunately. And we're just gonna have to be hoping that what we get is gonna be at least somewhat playable. But in the meantime, you can enjoy here either the original game by Ensemble Studios. You can see I was launching both of them: original balance patch, deathmatch, lightning, vanilla, expert patch vanilla, rated one, custom scenarios. I have seen Bloodsport hosted earlier today. Otherwise, of course, you're gonna be having Zelda or, I don't know, Tiny, for example, the most common. And you can also play against Titans AI. You can see there's Yanduel and Apio Verde having some good fun, and you can potentially join them if you are more into that. So also thank you to the players that we streamed therefore in the first game. And that was also Grassengroom with Sniper playing in the Eric Smurf, then Killuminati also from Keen, and Punkstar from the Uncrapables. So thanks to all of them that you're able to enjoy some good Age of Mythology for today. Of course, again, Kimo and Grassengroom and Killuminati for the show match, thanks. No, and thank you for everybody who stopped by. Also thanks to Blue Piggy and Funny Liquid for the follows, and Dragon Age for that bit. So who was in the chat today, Enomi, Chrono, thank you very much for the insight and some ideas. You could be getting some more and direct information about the game. Flame as well, the same, for also getting some info. And also Funny Liquid, of course, Katidanks, and who is also right now discussing with us, Six-Sider, Andrea Pirlo, Vander Brown. There is a Age of Empires 2 streamer, if I'm not mistaken, who is doing a lot of Age of Mythology lately. So as you can see, plenty of people are gonna be looking to move over and give it a chance. And can I get maybe some people from the earlier stages also highlighted? Odin Thorfrey. Sorry that I couldn't be, unfortunately, giving you some more information on the other gods. Simply we weren't given any kind of extra information so far. So you need to be waiting until that's gonna be available. Then Cuberti, Nimonom, Ragnarox, Sebas 613. Mr. Badmass, Kenzi Mahve. And then when we were discussing, was there somebody new? Bystander. Before that, Billy Lotion. Furuku, apparently quite a bit of a cheerleader for Kimo. And that's gonna be it. Okay, so thank you everybody for stopping by. Right now, let's have also look onto who is currently still streaming for you. There is a lot of people apparently around here. So Kevin Light-Yagami doing some extended edition. John Arbiter apparently the same, for example. Patanu, who is that? He's playing on Woobley, but what is he having his nickname in-game? Okay, so it seems like his stream is not entirely working too well. So can't be entirely checking that, but maybe for next time we can possibly give him a follow. Then we do have somebody playing some competitive, or is it only campaign? Arrow 1988 is doing Copa AOM. Sao Bruno versus Brad Duck on extended edition, some tournament. Sir Awesome doing campaign. Agony SS looks like a campaign too. That will be campaign. Six-Sider. That should be competitive, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, playing some Highland. On extended edition, then we're gonna be having El Rengo Gamer playing some team game against computers, so that's not gonna be some player versus player. And Tozura is doing what? That is also gonna be campaign. Okay, so for the competitive games, you have these so far to witness. No, and if anybody needed to be any reminder, or they have any reminders, sorry, I can't speak anymore. Guess too late for me, then it's gonna be, of course, ChronoJJ to be linked here. Flame doesn't stream, but he's having YouTube. Keen Gaming, youtube.com/Keen Gaming. I'll certainly be having something else in there, but he can potentially correct that if he is gonna be wanting to. And then, of course, earlier we were having there for Ragnaroks. And we also need to be highlighting Kimo. Grassengroom. And of course, Illuminati. I'm thinking that Sniper is also here and there, or was used to be streaming, but I don't think he's entirely streaming too much actively, so I'm not entirely certain what kind of nickname to even possibly recommend for him. Maybe somebody's gonna be having that information. And also I missed Punkstar, mustn't forget about him, since we were also enjoying his gameplay. And that maybe could be it for the recommendations, where you could be giving yourself some likes, not to be missing some interesting Age of Mythology streams. And Kenzie Mahve, that's the last one. Also doesn't seem to be streaming as much lately, but I think that here and there he still is. But yeah, that's gonna be it for tonight. So yeah, well, hopefully you enjoyed at least the show match. Sorry that I can't speak here at the end anymore, but yeah, hopefully also did get some interesting information from the gameplay, from the Retold showcase. But I'm thinking there's maybe not even more to be gleaned. Possibly if the rain is gonna be helping with their wood, or how much actually it's gonna be increasing the food gathering. Somebody wants to be delving into it, then feel free. I'm not gonna be doing that, because I'm also thinking that it does have way too much of a margin of error, just like way too much of a small sample you can get there. So it's probably not gonna be entirely too relevant, and might be just better to wait for that until we get the actual information. And also interesting information by Ragnaroks that apparently Freyr was already part of some kind of extended edition mod. So it wouldn't be surprising me. They usually, whatever they do, it's usually taken from the community without any kind of credit, but it's also a bit interesting legally, especially for the big corporations like that. So you can kind of understand it. On the other hand, if some things are too similar, then you can be having your opinions on that as well. But who knows how close it's gonna be possibly to the mod that has been mentioned by Ragnaroks. So yeah, that's gonna be for it for tonight. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you everybody for stopping by. And I've been Blackadder at Blackadder's Place. Hope you enjoyed, and see you later. Thank you Blue Piggy, Funny Liquid for the follows, Dragon Age for the bit, and everybody for stopping by. And well, next Wednesday Age of Mythology, maybe even sooner. Who knows if there's gonna be something community could be using help with, and I guess some Age of Empires to in between, as we have some matches, for example tomorrow, to do and look at some top level games from the tournaments. See you later.